I think
this is opinion.
This is my opinion. Yeah, this isn't fact. But I think they were going to tell everybody it was a closed meeting. And since many people don't know,
they would have just walked away.
Like someone like Tim Martin at the time, he probably wouldn't have known. He would have walked away probably.
Right.
You know, they would have been.
He would have been angry when he found out that that wasn't true.
Right, exactly.
But that would have been after the water was under the bridge.
Right, they would have had the meeting. So I think, I think that's what they were going to try to do. Their
intent.
And I don't know if Rick was involved in that or not. This is just my thought process here.
I don't know. I don't know if Rick was or not because I mean he was pretty adamant.
No, he jumped right to the open meeting.
Yeah, he was pretty adamant to Fred that it was an open meeting. That it wasn't a closed meeting.
Well, this is a prime example of why we need, I would say, better leadership at this point,
and why we need more people showing up to hold the leadership.
That's right. So it's a community as a whole.
That's right.
That's right.
A Republican government doesn't work if you don't show up. This is why Benjamin Franklin said, "Madam, you have a republic if you can keep it." Because the way you keep it is you have to show up.
That's right.
And we've gotten so distracted with everything else that we can make every excuse in the world why we don't get involved with our local government. Let's make this clear. Local government is far more important and far more powerful than national government.
Of course, I was called an antagonizer through the situation.
Sure. Sure.
Okay, I guess I'll
In fact, there was even somebody that thought it was me on there because they saw the JON, somebody that had been bashing me all the way through my campaign before and had said some horrible things about me behind my back, but then all of a sudden tried to do well, I got a mistake. I get mistaken the name.
Well,
no, you didn't.
Several of these people running for because there's like 5 kind of running as a group, and then you got Tim Martin running as a write-in. You know, I didn't meet all the people that are running. I only know 3 or 4 people that are running.
Tim and Dennis and
we know Randy,
Mark. And Randy,
yeah,
I know Randy.
Yeah, so
the other there's 2 I don't know.
Dennis McLean here, he's running for their township treasurer, so that'd be for Patricia's spot.
Yeah, Patricia's spot.
You know, and I've gotten to talk to Dennis quite a bit in the last couple weeks.
I've talked to him quite a little bit too. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, how do I say this? He is opening up to the Constitution heavily.
Oh, big.
Yeah.
He's been taking the classes from Hillsdale College.
He wants to set new standards.
He bought the book. He bought
new. He wants to set
the standards,
the original standards.
Yeah,
right?
Which is what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Other than he'll be called a what was it they called me when I said I was a constitutional candidate?
Commie?
No, they called me a radical.
Yeah, radical.
Right?
Yeah.
But then again,
That's
George
right.
Washington and the founders were called radicals too, right?
Yeah.
But I heard free radicals are supposed to be good, but that's in health. But
so, in my opinion, if like on a rating system, because we talked about doing rating systems.
That was a joke, and you just breezed right through it.
Well, your jokes are nerdy, dude. I don't laugh at jokes. Well, sometimes I do. I laugh at the dungeon joke, but
okay.
But no, it went over my head. So
sorry,
I was just in thought here, though.
Oh, okay.
No, but Dennis McLean, in my opinion, if you had a choice between Patricia and Dennis, let's just take this for it. You got Patricia that's been on the board for a long time, that is being personally sued, that is personally being recalled, that is openly, admittedly doing whatever Fred wants to do,
and has also openly admitted that they never read the contract. They just sign it every year. That's dangerous.
I didn't even talk about that. I filmed her after that meeting, asking her how much that attorney cost, because that was that meeting. Because we didn't even finish that. Actually,
she said, "I don't know. I get the bill and I pay it."
Well, they held an illegal meeting still.
Yes.
That day too, on that special meeting.
Well, what happened was the village board had posted it properly, but the township board had not.
Yeah. So Richard Beach's group did it right.
Yes, the village did it the right way.
Kudos to them. Props to them.
Kudos to them. So what happened was when the meeting started, Mark Nichols, who's running for the supervisor
for Fred's position, stood
up and he said, and he directed it at the township board, not the village. He
didn't even.
No. Yep. He said the township board has not posted this properly, and he said, so you guys are in violation of the OMA. Do you intend to go forward with this meeting?
So check it out. I got 2 cameras rolling. I got a camera filming from the back, kind of seeing everything, but you can't hear the board because they're literally whispering.
Right away they go into whispering.
Yeah, like
and they've got their lawyer sitting right there.
Yeah, I mean, it might not be a whisper to them because they're sitting next to each other. To everybody else, it's a damn whisper.
Yeah, because it's a huge room.
Yeah, and so it echoes to the room. It's hard to hear in that room.
Sure, well, but it's a huge room. boom.
And so, like, you got them in. They're talking like, first off, it was like catching deer in headlights because you got the 7 members or 8 people that are on the other side. They're not saying a word.
Now let me preface that too. Is they just got handed less than a week ago.
Yeah, it was a week prior.
A week prior. Paperwork that they're being sued for OMA violations.
So not only did they just get sued for OMA, they've been told for a long time that they're violating OMA. Here they are at this special meeting violating OMA again.
And Mark gives them a speech the same as what my speech was just before I sued them.
In front of their attorney.
That's right. So they look at their attorney, and their attorney went.
So they're mumbling to the attorney, and the attorney's like, "Do you want to have a closed meeting?" And like they're like, First off, the village did wonderful. They stood quiet.
Yes, they did exactly what they were supposed to do.
And that was great for that they did that. But so they did a roll call, and they decided to change. Like, first off, when they scheduled this meeting, it was Fred and Rick at an informal meeting. Yeah. They just decided a random date.
And they can do that. Where they went wrong was they were informed that it was an illegal meeting. At that time, they should have said, "Okay, when do we want to have another meeting at another time? Is the 7th all right with everybody? Can everybody look at their calendars?"
Yeah.
They could have done something like that, but instead, they decided to carry out a roll call vote, voting on the next special meeting, which is now a violation of the OMA.
Of course,
when they've just been told that they're in the middle of an illegal meeting.
Of course, in my head, red flags are going up everywhere.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God, they're holding a meeting.
They decided to step down because it was an illegal meeting and went right into a meeting.
And their attorney should have said, "Hey guys, don't do no roll calls. Just set a date."
Yeah. but their attorney sat right there, and I'm like,
bad advice.
Oh my gosh!
And just so people know, the attorney that represents them, if I'm not mistaken, was in the same office as an attorney that represents the village of North Adams.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, but the village of North Adams attorney is like, he either quit or he's moving on to a different career path or something of that nature.
He's
out of Coldwater.
Down.
He's stepping down out of Coldwater. So they are talking about getting another attorney, and they did mention that in their meeting. And they were talking about, should we get someone in that office again? I mentioned that I thought it was a conflict of interest.
Yeah, huge conflict.
So like, you go get a whole different attorney from somewhere else.
Because here they're there to discuss a contract in which the village is being held harmless and the fire department's being held harmless, but in which the township could be sued for a substantial amount of money because of this contract between the two of them, and they're going to use the same lawyer. That's like two people getting divorced and using the same lawyer.
That's right. Yeah.
It's just a conflict of interest.
So Mark did a good job on shutting that meeting down, that illegal, improper meeting. And
sure, because it wasn't posted proper.
Right. How much were those attorney fees?
I guarantee you,
it's irrelevant.
Here's the thing: I'll bet you she's at the very least she's charging $75 an hour.
Yeah, it's not pro bono.
Some lawyers can charge up to $200, $300.
That's right. It's not pro bono. So it costs the taxpayers. It costs taxpayers X amount of dollars for them making a mistake at a meeting.
Well, it doesn't matter. Even if it costs the taxpayers a penny.
That's what I'm saying.
It was wrong.
That's what I'm saying. So on their error.
It cost the taxpayers.
It cost the taxpayers on their stupid posting error.
That's right.
Something that it could be done and fixed so simple.
That's right.
They have a copy and printer machine up there.
That's right.
What the hell is
and
wrong with them?
And here's the thing: they
just got sued.
They got sued for the very same
what
thing.
What the hell is wrong with these people?
For Michigan Compiled Law 15.264, Section 4.
At the end of the meeting, I did approach Patricia and asked her how much the attorney cost. Go on, John. Repeat what she said.
She goes, I don't know. When I get the bill, I pay it.
So that's their township treasurer. So we skipped all that. Now going to Dennis here. Dennis is running for that position. In my opinion, the way that Dennis has expressed how he wants to create the standard, Dennis didn't know what the standards were.
No.
He didn't know what the Constitution really is.
I think Dennis has always liked the Constitution. Dennis has always stood for the Constitution, but Dennis hasn't known the Constitution and its principles.
I think most people are. John, I think most people are. I always tell, and I told you this.
Yeah, most people do. They go, yeah, we like the Constitution. Do you know it? Yeah, I know it.
I think this to be true. I think this is almost like self-evident truth, and I could be wrong, is there's two kind of people out there, and I told you this before. There are people that get it, and there are people that don't.
That's true. That's true.
And when I say that, I'm generally speaking here, first and foremost, don't get offended out there, snowflakes. But
especially if you're one of the ones that don't get it.
My mom is one that doesn't get it. My mom thinks all brown people are the same. Okay, so she's obviously...
Well, they are. They're all brown.
Yeah, well, she doesn't get it. She doesn't understand that there's like 100 different religions over there. There's 100 different sects.
Now that I said that, snowflakes, calm down. That was a joke.
She just doesn't get it. She can't do any job. When I say when you get it, anybody that gets it can do just about any job. So, like, for an example, if you get it, you could go fix lawnmowers if you really wanted to.
Yeah, you can watch somebody do it as long as and then you you get the repetition down, and then you start searching for the principles behind what you're doing.
Right. Like if you get it, you can learn how to podcast.
Yes.
Right? If you get it, you could be a surgeon, or if you really wanted to be.
Sure.
You could be a historian if you wanted to be.
What was that movie that was just done about the guy that got into one of the airlines back in the middle of the 20th century? Got into.
Oh, that's Watch Me If You Can. It was a Tom Hanks movie with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
Where he was like 16 or 17 years old.
Yeah, and see. That's somebody that gets it.
Yeah, he gets it. He
got it for the wrong.
He learned how to utter and publish checks.
Well, see, here's the thing: those type of people that get it will either be the commanders. They'll either be the commanders of a battleship or the commanders of a cell block. One of the two, and it depends on how we mentor those people. Will they be leaders for good, or will they be leaders for bad?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, even like my stepdaughter, she's not a very, how do I say this? She's a very eccentric girl in school. She's failing, right? She's failing school, John. And she struggles with the structure of the school.
Yes.
Right?
It's not that she's not smart. She's a very intelligent little girl.
She'll run circles around adults.
Oh, man.
She's very smart. Like, and I was that way too. I got it.
She's intellectual.
Yeah, right. I got it.
Yeah.
So that's why I was able to manipulate what I wanted when I wanted it, right?
But she is very intellectual.
Yeah.
It's the structure of the school. And that goes back to something that Einstein said. He said, if you grade a fish on how well they can climb a tree, the fish will always fail. You can't do that. And so sometimes this is why I think charter schools and homeschooling is good, because there needs to be an alternative.
Yeah, for certain people.
Absolutely.
So I believe there are people that get it and there are people that don't. And the people that get it can understand the Constitution if they choose so.
Sure.
Right? And I'm not saying everybody that gets it understands the Constitution.
Sometimes they understand the principles without having the formal training on it. They just understand it.
Like me.
Yeah, they just understand it.
I understand the principles.
Yeah.
But I don't have I can't quote anything from the Federalist Papers.
No.
Right?
But you've got an uncanny ability to understand the principles without having the classical study of the principles.
So I think Dennis is one of those guys.
Yes, I think so as well.
Right? So I think Dennis is a guy that gets it. I think Dennis can achieve anything that he wants to achieve, he can and will do.
Yes.
And so he has one of those personalities. So in my opinion, between Patricia Williams and Dennis McLean, if I had a voting choice,
there wouldn't even be a choice in my book.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, like, you got a person that wants to do whatever Fred wants to do, which is the wrong decisions, in my opinion.
Well,
the wrong
which
decisions.
has been proven time and time again on video.
Right. Or you can go for the guy that gets it and that it wants to set the original standard.
Yes, and wants a republic form of government,
which everybody,
not a democracy.
Even the people that don't get it, cherish the Constitution, even if they don't even know what it is.
Yeah, and that's the odd thing. So many people
it's like the Bible.
I know, but so many people violate the Bible, but claim that they love the Word. And there's so many people that claim that they love the Constitution, but yet they practice a progressive ideology of direct democracy. This is what I don't understand. That's hard for me to get through my noggin.
I'm just encouraging the people of the village and in Adams Township, if they want someone in there that's going to do it the way that it needs to be done in a republic form of government,
with the people's interest at heart.
Well, I'm not saying Patricia's. I think she wants to do what people want to do. I think that you're explaining that wrong, John. When you say something like that, that's like a democracy statement at the people's interest and heart. Do you see how people could turn that into a democracy statement?
I could see that. Yes.
Okay, so like I think Patricia has the people's mind and heart.
I'll agree with you on that. I think she probably does have the people's best interest at heart.
Yeah, and I think Dennis will.
But
too.
I don't think she knows quite how to do that, because she doesn't know how to do it.
She doesn't know how to do it constitutionally.
No, and she doesn't. I don't think she knows how to do it on her own. She's waiting for someone to tell her.
Unfortunately, this is what happens.
Meeting.
This is what happens with more people that are how do I want to say, more mentally frail. Unfortunately, people like Michelle and Patricia, a lot of times, we've seen it on the county commissioner level, we're seeing people getting thrown under the bus.
Sure.
Sure.
Just because they're Because they're too trusting of those that they're with without realizing just how vile it can be.
Someone like Michelle Giannofoli, she's a young woman. In my opinion, if this board does get recalled and everybody else, if this whole, like the old board loses and every position loses, someone like Michelle, in my opinion, Fred threw her under the bus.
In my opinion, that would be what would be called.
What is it, like a casualty, like a
collateral
damage? That's right.
Because I don't think that she was a true combatant in this.
Well, she's not. But the thing is, she doesn't know the Constitution either.
No,
right?
And but the other thing is too, I don't know why. When I explained to her exactly what she needed to do to be legal,
let me be clear. She's such a pleasant person. I hate seeing this.
I do too.
She's such a pleasant. Like Patricia's not very pleasant to me.
No, but I took time to explain to Michelle exactly where she could find the law and exactly what it said. That it had to have the address, the phone number, and the meeting.
As a clerk, she has a little bit more. She has an executive position up there.
Yes, she does. An active position.
Well, I forgot what they were calling it over here in Somerset Center. It was the 3 board members. There were the executive.
The executive board.
Is that what they call that?
And then the trustees are.
Yeah, the trustees are there just for the vote.
Yeah, they're there for the picture.
But regardless, she has like you said, an active or an executive position. The clerk is so important, and it's such an important position. That's why I have nothing but respect for her.
Yeah, it is an important
position.
So
and you know what?
And probably most of the work of the township. I mean, let's face facts. Most of the work of that board falls on her shoulders.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, she does.
She's got the most duties.
Yeah, she pulls the biggest portion of the way.
All the clerks in the townships probably have the most.
Sure, clerks.
Yeah, they got a lot of work.
They're
on the
workhorses.
Yeah, they're the workhorses. So I got nothing but respect for Michelle. Okay, but I feel that this board. Well, how do I say this? I feel the seniors on this board failed her.
Yes.
All right, and they set her up for failure.
They failed to mentor her.
That's right.
They failed to do the right things.
That's right. And they're giving her bad advice.
And she followed them because they are the seniors.
Yeah, they've been there for a long time.
Have mentored her.
And she used her emotions instead of her logic and reason.
Well, she used her passion.
Yeah, she used her passion. If she goes down with the ship.
If she has any blame to anything,
I hope we can get her on the show. That would be great to have her on the show.
If she has any blame to anything, it's that she used her passion.
Well, if she gets back in position or if she loses, we should have her see if she'll come on the show.
She's always welcome.
So we can all learn together, like the audience, us, her.
She's welcome. Fred's welcome. Patricia's welcome.
Well, they're all welcome, but I'm just saying.
All of them are.
I mean, I like Michelle genuinely. So I would like to have her on the show just to go through this experience because I know she's learning too.
You feel bad for her because you feel that she was taken advantage of by those that should have mentored her. I understand that.
A little bit.
My thing is they all have the same opportunity, and so thereby they all should have the same.
It's a sin is a sin.
Yeah, But I do understand where you're coming from. Don't get me wrong on that.
Well, I have sympathy for people because I was there once. I didn't understand what the Constitution was. Yeah. I'm a Captain Save-A-Ho is what my wife calls me.
You're just a big. You're just a big old soft.
My wife calls me Captain Save-A-Ho because I'm always trying to help people in the community.
I don't know if that's a good thing to be putting out there.
Yeah, I know. It's such a bad statement. I got to tell my wife to quit calling me that. But regardless, but if you were voting between Dennis and Patricia, in my opinion, Dennis he's a guy.
There's not even a choice.
Yeah, it's not even a choice. It's ridiculous. But then you got like Fred Fowler, and then you got Mark Nichols, and then you got Tim Martin.
Yeah.
Right. Tim Martin's a write-in. Mark Nichols is running on the. They had to pick a non-party affiliate, which sucks. Because of Bruce Caswell and what he did with the two-party system.
Yeah, because Bruce Caswell loves faction.
Yeah.
Against what our founding fathers set up. So Bruce Caswell doesn't like the Constitution, even though he says he does.
I'm not saying that because he didn't want to come on our show, but
no, I'm going to call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Bruce Caswell is.
I would have liked to have him come on the show to explain why he took this two-party voting system into a one-party voting system, so it made it harder for people to get recalled.
Well, I'm going to say this. There was another situation that I brought up to Bruce that he didn't even understand geography because he thought South Carolina was a foreign country. I'm going to call a spade a spade.
Yeah. That's when that factory moved to in
When
South
Bo's moved
Carolina.
out, yeah.
His excuse that they moved
was
overseas.
try to use NAFTA as the excuse
Yeah,
that they
yeah.
moved overseas, but South Carolina is not a foreign country.
So obviously Fred's position is up for the taking, and Mark Nichols has been the guy that's been kind of fighting for that position for a couple months. After Tim's house burnt down, Tim started recognizing things, and I think Tim's diving into the Constitution, and Mark has too. Equally, they're both been working really hard, at least with us.
yes,
I'm really surprised that they have taken on trying to learn the knowledge of the Constitution and understanding of the principles. They both have been working really hard, and I got nothing but respect for both of them.
They both, from both of their situations, from both of what they've gone through, have understood that what's going on is not right.
That's
They
right.
may not have been able to put their finger on it and name the theory that it violated, but they knew in their hearts, they knew something was not being run right. Something was not right.
And kudos to them. God bless both of them, because they both Tim and Mark have been working so
The
hard.
Republic, we can only keep the Republic when people show up.
That's right.
That's it.
And out of this show and out of the activism that we've done more recently, we've opened up quite a bit of eyes, and we're actually bringing on more people. I'm like, this is the first
We've
time
been
I've seen
called
this.
lots of names for it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I want to say that we've been building this army, but the thing is they're equally just as important as you and I, and getting these people on board, and they're going to be able to teach their children,
Sure.
and teach their wives,
But
and
that's
teach
what
their
it's all about.
community.
It says that we're supposed to do this to keep this liberty for ourselves and our posterity, right? I don't want to turn this over to my children, my grandchildren. I want to turn liberty over to my children and
And
grandchildren.
we don't do this for the fame. We're doing this. This is
No.
why we're doing this, is to open these people up, to help
Absolutely.
build this up in our county.
Absolutely,
You know,
because we know it's not right.
We struggle because we can't do nothing on a national level. We can't do nothing on a state. I mean, I'm not
Anything.
saying we can't do nothing. I'm just saying, like,
We
our,
can't do anything. That
Our-
double negative is driving me nuts.
can't
We
do
can't
anything.
do
There you
anything.
go. Well, the thing is we have very little influence nationally and state level.
That's right. We have very little.
So
Very little.
it costs a lot of money to run against Tim Walberg. It costs
Sure.
$250,000 minimum.
Easy.
to run against that dude.
And let's face facts. At that level, it's all about who can raise the most money usually.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's
And
just
we have no name recognition. It's going to cost you every bit of that $250,000.
Lord, yes, it's just and so. But the other thing is when Congress enacts something, they're under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1 through 17. So anything they enact is external anyway. Madison outlined it very clear in Federalist 51 that all of government's powers are of Congress's powers are external.
Well, it doesn't really matter either way, national or state, anyways, because that's not where the importance is anyways.
Well, it takes years before any of that even reaches us.
Well, it's what's important is locally, and that's where the corruption starts, and it moves up the ladder. It doesn't come down the ladder.
But the other thing, wait a minute. Okay, you just did a democracy thing right there.
Okay.
It moves up the ladder? No. The people are at the top of the ladder.
Yeah, I see what
Local
you're saying.
government is just below the people. So we have a tendency, and it's an honest mistake.
See, even someone like me that is around this daily,
Right. It's an honest mistake because we've been brought up to believe that the federal government's
That's
the
right.
top of the pyramid.
Right.
And it's not. They call it a swamp for a reason because they're the bottom.
Right, that's right. The corruption starts with your local community.
Absolutely.
Then it moves to the state level.
Absolutely.
And then it moves to the national level.
Absolutely.
Look at Colbeck, what he told us on his burn rate was just to run for governor. What was it? $10,000 or $15,000 a week?
$15,000 a week.
Okay, $15,000 a week to run for governor. And he's like what? Like third or fourth in the Republican side?
Well, not only that, they don't give him much credit because he is a true conservative.
Right, well, like a Ron Paul type kind of guy.
Well, yeah. And so what happens is the RNC and the DNC are no different. when Colbeck got in there, he said, okay, well, how come we're not doing this repeal thing? And they were like, well, you're not going to get any position because you talked against, you're talking too much for this repeal Obamacare.
Yeah.
And he said, I thought I was Republican. We were supposed to do that, right? And they said, no, we didn't. They didn't want that. So what's going on is they were going around telling people that they were going to repeal Obamacare to get votes, but the Republicans didn't want to repeal it either because they liked the power of controlling 1/16 of the nation's economy as well. Don't let them lie to you. So there is no difference. It's two crime families that are fighting for your money and the power over you.
Well, this leads into the next topic. When we talked about the word conservative being hijacked, kind of like Republican has been hijacked.
Well, you tell a lie long enough and it becomes the truth.
Well, John, if I asked you to like off the top of your head define what conservative means, conserve. Let's just start with the word because that's where conservative is. It's conserve,
we are supposed to conserve the principles.
Well, I always use a simple analogy for people for the audience, or when I talk to people on the street, I ask them to define conservative, and when they can't define conservative, I ask them to define conserve. And I go, well, how about this? Squirrels conserve nuts in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair to say?
Mm-hmm. They just can't remember where it's a crapshoot where they bury them.
Yeah, but they save nuts
sure.
in the wintertime, right?
They save up for the bad time.
So conserve is to save, right?
Yes, to keep.
To save. What's the difference?
Well,
you're saving.
Saving and keeping. Yes, I'd say it's the same.
It's relatively the same, or
yes,
close enough?
Very close.
Okay, so squirrels conserve nuts in the wintertime. So if you elect a conservative president, what is he saving?
Well, we've got too many nuts up there.
So our next topic here is...
So you're saying the president saves the nuts in Washington, D.C.? This is the swamp.
Well, we got Sheriff Parker buying a brand new 4x4 truck, right?
Yeah, because we throw so many convicted criminals in the back of a truck to haul them.
Did Sheriff Parker run on the conservative ticket?
Yes.
He calls himself a conservative, right?
But in fact, the Republican Party, we brought out during that time, the Republican Party had me listed as the only hard Republican. He was listed as
a lot of people don't know that.
A light Republican.
People don't know that.
And the other candidate was listed as an independent.
Just for our audience, so you guys know, Rutan is the only hard Republican conservative that ran.
Yep.
Everybody else was a moderate or
light,
yeah,
or independent,
or very much Democratic.
Yeah,
I
was the only red one. The rest of them were pink.
Well, our so-called conservative sheriff, and I'm not saying that to attack Sheriff Parker by any means. I think Sheriff Parker, he's been respectful and he takes my calls and we talk.
Not now.
Well, I mean, he has a very standoffish sound to him, but he takes my calls, and I have nothing but respect for him for that. What I don't understand is if you take the position of a conservative position, why don't you be conservative when you say you're conservative?
Why do you need a...
Their budget is big. Their employees, they have a lot of employees and they want more. He's on record saying that he wants to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on school safety. You got better than 1%, and you still want to spend hundreds of millions of dollars. How is this all conservative?
And the other thing is, why, John? Who bought your vehicle for you to drive to work?
I did.
Yeah. Then why isn't the sheriff buying his own vehicle to drive to work?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, these people want water like bottled water, brought in.
But they want the county taxpayers to pay for it.
Yeah, they want literally everything.
Yeah.
I mean, like if they have to wear
why should those that serve the public live better than the public?
Right. Well,
that should never be. Now that don't give me. Now I'm going to get hate mail on this already. I know. I'm not talking the people that are employed by the government. I'm talking the people that of their own free will ran as an elected position for the people.
Right.
That's something completely different.
Right. Not only do I have problems with spending money frivolously, like on a 4x. No, I mean, I don't know, because I'm not the sheriff and I'm not working in that department, so I technically don't know if they need a 4x4 truck. But what I do know is when I drive by the parking lot, they have lots of vehicles with hitches on them. And that's one of the excuses was they need to pull like trailers and stuff.
Here's another thing, though. You know what? County maintenance has a couple 4x4 trucks that if they need to haul something that one time a year, Why can't they call
Well,
county maintenance
John,
to come hook onto it and drag it where it's
John,
got to go?
you know I drive a 3/4 ton van.
Sure.
Right? I can haul damn near anything.
Sure.
You know, like,
And we
so-
have
and
hauled
yeah.
darn near anything.
Yeah, so like they don't have nothing. They're not hauling rocks and shingles.
No.
So they're hauling like lightweight equipment.
Yeah.
At best.
Yes. But the other thing is this: we already have 4x4 trucks bought for the county that we put blades on.
If they have Chevys, they have all-wheel drive Chevy vans.
Right, but we put blades on these vehicles for county maintenance so that they can get out in the wintertime and never get stuck and get everything clear, right? So you're telling me that the sheriff has to have this very fancy pickup truck, 4x4, to haul this stuff.
Well, it's brand new. Anything brand new is going to look fancy.
Well, but brand new. My thing is, who bought your vehicle for you to drive to work?
Right.
Now, I know a lot of people go, well, what if the sheriff has to? Well, what if pigs fly someday?
I mean, he's not climbing up a plateau in Arizona.
No, so my thing is, I understand it's the sheriff. Now, is that the same as going, well, the deputy sheriffs, they should drive their own cars too? No. They need to have cars with lights and respond with emergencies.
Because they're employed.
I don't know of any situation where the sheriff needs to respond lights and siren.
Well, I thought the sheriff was
hauling something.
Well, the sheriff is an administration position anyway.
Administrative position.
So he should be sitting behind that desk 24/7 probably.
Or now I don't have anything wrong with the sheriff going out among the people and out among his employees and doing that stuff, because I mean you need to be a hands-on type of administrator. But the fact of the matter is, what are the optics on that? What does it look like? That doesn't look good.
Well, what makes it worse is the logos that they decide to go with, right?
Yeah.
Not only did they get the new truck and it's a pretty truck, is they decide to design it with graphics and
with gang.
Well,
with gang signs.
This is what I was going into. Well, you got the sheriff off the side of the truck, which is it's cool looking. It's a cool design.
You need to have sheriff on the side of the truck.
Right. Well,
you're going to have a truck for the sheriff.
Yeah. It says it's the thin blue line. It's not like your normal county.
What's a thin blue line?
Well, okay.
I don't remember seeing that in the Constitution.
First and foremost, the sheriff's colors in the state of Michigan are gold and brown.
Yes.
Okay, and the cars are white. Now, if you ever watched Andy Griffin's show, look at that sheriff. Remember his car. I want you to remember that. Why was that sheriff so approachable? Right? Because it was everything about him, his vehicle, his outfit, everything about him was approachable, and everybody waved to that guy. Right? Everybody was happy to see that guy.
Oh, now we're going to get hate mail now. Oh, you don't understand everything so bad. No, it's not. Ganglands, and my goodness, everybody's shooting everybody.
Well, it's gangland maybe on the police side.
Yeah. Okay,
not on our side.
Yeah.
Right? Because the sheriff decided to put a thin blue stripe down his car. Okay. So if a lot of people don't know what the thin blue line is, the thin blue line is a very cool commercial designed logo. It's very, very hip.
It's very M13.
It's very cool, right? Like if you're a gun-loving citizen, like it's very cool looking.
But it's very M13. It's very West Side.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, yes. It in what the representation of that thin blue line is. Cops versus bad guys, right? So that's the.
But who's the bad guy?
That's the mentality of it, right? Exactly. We don't really have bad guys in Hillsdale County.
But,
Not to say we don't have crime.
But wait a minute. But who are the bad guys? We don't know. Only juries know who the bad guys are, right? Because before a jury, everyone's innocent until proven guilty. Supposed to be. That's the maxim of law that we follow.
Well, this is the mentality of cops.
So what does the thin blue line say?
I'm not saying all cops think this way. We're talking generally here.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times you get people emotionally thinking and saying, like, I'm not being emotional. I'm logically placing it here. It's
just a question.
You got even the Somerset cop car. Our cop car looks like a stealth bomber car because it's the Dodge.
It's black and it's dark.
It's dark, and it's got like cool knobs and trinkets on it, antennas, and it's got the blue line down the side.
Yep.
It's very stealthy looking, and it's very cool. Like the stealth bomber is a cool looking plane. Like it was cool in the 80s and 90s. These cars look like that, very like hidden and secretive.
See, and here's the thing: in all these people, especially these progressives and these liberals, always want to go, well, let's duplicate Europe. Okay. In Europe, you always know what a police car is. It doesn't matter where you go because they're very flashy. They're very open. You know what the police car is. So they're not hiding, lying in wait to catch somebody doing something wrong.
I want you to think about Andy Griffin. Did he put on military boots?
No.
Did he paint his car black?
So that he can hide.
That he can hide in the shadow.
And jump out and grab somebody for a ticket.
You know, like, did he do any... Like, this is the mentality. So the sheriff truck's white, which is great that it's white.
Yes.
But then he put the blue stripe down the side. And it's not gold. It's blue.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the backside on the tailgate, he has the thin blue line American flag, and it's fading out with like a distressed sides and stuff look.
So it's against USC 4.
And let me make this clear, because this is the kettle. We're throwing stones here, because I actually did this on our Facebook page. It's still there, and I'm in the position right now to redo our banner, because this is something I just learned.
Because it's wrong.
It's wrong to do this. I did not even know this. So here it's the respecting of being respectful of flag. Now I'm a private citizen. It might be slightly different as far as I guess a sin's a sin, but this is a government identity that is breaking the law, even though it's not an enforced law.
Yes.
He's breaking the law. He's disrespecting the American flag. He's also creating a gang mentality with the thin blue line. It's also spending lots of money, not being conservative. So here I'm throwing stones because I'm desecrating the American flag on our banner on Facebook page. So now I got to redo that, and I'm going to make a statement on that too, because I did not know either.
Now that we just beat Tim up, we're bad to him. It is a bad-looking truck.
It's cool.
It's a cool-looking truck.
It is. Anybody would want it, right?
But it's the optics.
Yeah,
you got to consider the optics.
Well, this is something that we haven't really talked a whole lot on, and this is something that Dennis McClain, when he read into this and I explained to him, he got it right away.
Yeah, because he gets it.
Yeah, because he gets it, right? The fire department does it too with the thin red line, right?
Yeah.
Right? It's creating a gang mentality.
Sure.
Right? It creates a gang, like cops versus them.
It's us against them.
Firefighters against everybody else, right? So, like, it's Detroit versus us, or Detroit versus everybody, that mentality.
Yeah, and it should not be against anything.
Nothing.
It should be for
That's right.
the Constitution.
So instead of creating a gang mentality logo, you should create a unity logo, which is the American flag. Red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think Betsy Ross already did that.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, instead of creating a gang truck, create a unity truck.
I still go back to, why do we need the truck?
I know.
We've got 13 vehicles within the county. But 13 vehicles we're paying for.
But for our viewership, I want them to know the mindset of where we're at.
But do you realize we have 13 vehicles for department heads to drive?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, that's a lot of vehicles.
Why? No one pays me to drive to work.
You think they get fuel cards?
I'm sure they do, but why?
On top of benefits?
Are department heads having cars to drive?
Listen, we said earlier they probably don't do it for the money. I bet some of these people do these jobs for the money.
Well, some of them don't, but here's the thing.
I would say majority don't, but
the county board. County board, some years ago, used to have about a $20,000 medical package that they all kept real quiet. And a lot of times people would run to get on that board because they needed something special done, and that would pay for it. In the end, what happened was the people of the county of Hillsdale were paying for people to have medical that they couldn't even afford themselves, to have a medical plan that they couldn't even afford themselves. That is wrong. That is absolutely wrong for an elected official. Now, again, let's make the distinction between people that are employees of the county,
right,
and people that are elected officials of the county.
Like a maintenance guy.
Elected officials.
A maintenance guy is an employee.
Right. Elected officials are not forced to take that position. They do that.
Like drain commission.
That's right.
Road commission.
That's right. And if you want to understand why I'm so fixated on that, read Benjamin Franklin's speech against Hamilton's motion on what they wanted to pay the executive board. I think it was, I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe it was in June of 1787 that this speech came up. And people really need to read that speech to understand where I'm coming from on this. Elected officials should be volunteering their time to their neighbor. Benjamin Franklin said at one time, and this is a paraphrase, that a man should leave his business and go serve a duty unto the people, and then make law and go back to his business and live under the law he created. He said this is the only way you can make just law.
Okay. Well, I don't want to get off Parker yet because there's actually one thing that we didn't put in our notes here.
Oh, sorry.
In regards to, I told you I called him about about the school safety thing.
Oh, yes.
So because we're just recapping on what happened in the last month and a half here.
We haven't been on for a while.
We haven't been on the air. We're talking about local stuff here.
Yeah.
On Hills.Hot Debates, I posted this stuff, some of this stuff. All right. So I read an article that was written by Corey Murray. I was questioning, it sent up red flags right away as soon as I started reading it. It was about school safety. It was a report that Parker wanted to spend more money on school safety. When I say more money, I'm saying hundreds of millions of dollars.
And getting grants.
It wasn't
strings attached.
It wasn't $50,000. It was like literally hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right, but grants, and getting it with grants that have strings attached.
Regardless.
Yeah.
It was spending
stolen money.
It's not conservative.
It's stolen
to spend
money.
That kind of money. So in this article, it said there was 41 threats since the Parkland shootings that happened in Florida that hyped up everything. So it was approximately 2 months that in the state of Michigan, there was 41 threats. Now, when you're reading this article, you're assuming there was like 41 threats of guns, right? Because that's what
it puts a certain picture in your head. Yep. And whether that's proper or not, it puts a picture in your head.
It didn't say what the threats were. It didn't define what a threat was. So instantly I'm thinking 41 threats. What are these threats? Like, wow, that's a lot of threats in the state of Michigan. And there were some other questions I had. I just couldn't. I was reading the article. I was kind of baffled on this article because it didn't really make a lot of sense. So I wrote a statement on a post on Hills.Hot Debates about it, and I was like, well, now that I'm thinking about it, I should just call Parker and just ask him. So I did call Parker, and
please call him Sheriff Parker.
Sheriff Parker.
He deserves that title.
He earned
Don't
it.
just call him Parker or call him Tim, but call him Sheriff Parker.
Okay.
Please, thank you.
Yeah, just like me calling Will Morrissey. I never called him Doctor when he was here.
He earned the title. Call him Dr. Morrissey.
Yeah, so Dr. Morrissey, that's right. So Sheriff Parker, I called Sheriff Parker, and through that conversation, I asked him, what are those threats? And he was really respectful with me, just so the audience knows. And I Tim and I have a mutual respectful conversation there. I asked him what the 41 threats were, and he told me he didn't know. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? I said, well, how many threats are in Hill? Oh, that was my second thing I was thinking. I was like, how many threats were in Hillsdale County if there's 41
in the state of Michigan?
So I'm like, how many are in Hillsdale County that warrants $100 million, hundreds of millions, not just $100 million, like more than $100 million.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking, like, well, how many happened in Hillsdale? And he's like, we don't know. He don't know what the threats were. He said that, well, a threat could be anything. Like, it could be a fight in a school. It could be...
My goodness, if that's the case, we had lots of threats when I was in high school.
Yeah, well, I was involved in like 40 threats in school.
Instigated 5 of them.
Yeah. Well, I instigate all of them.
Okay.
But regardless, he said it could have been a guy committing suicide in the middle of the night in the parking lot of a school.
Yeah.
That could have been a threat. So... I told him about the Corey Murray article, and he's like, I think he went and even looked at it. It wasn't written all the way. Like, first off, like, not all the data was there, all the information that Corey didn't state everything that needed to be stated in that article. Now, I'm not saying Corey's bad or anything of that nature. I'm just saying this particular article was a poorly written article. And I'm not Corey ain't going to hit a home run every time, obviously, right?
Nobody does.
Yeah, we don't hit a home run on every show.
The only thing that does makes him human.
Yeah, right, exactly. So this particular article, I just kind of stood out. But the threats were, how many are like real threats then? Like, if there's 41 in the state of Michigan in 2 months,
how many of those threats are the threats that I'm thinking in my mind because of the way that was written?
Sheriff Parker got the numbers from the Sheriff Association of Michigan.
Oh,
so
goodness.
so it was like a press release from them that he gave off to Corey, and then Corey took that.
And the Sheriff's Association wouldn't have anything to gain.
Yeah, well,
by that.
Okay, so I'm not going into conspiracy at all. I really don't know.
I'm not either. I'm just saying they got nothing to gain.
But okay, so there's 3,500 schools in the state of Michigan. 3,500, right? And if you did the math, and what's the chances of the odds of one of those 41 threats being in your school?
Let me guess, you did the gazindas.
Yeah, I did the math. It was like 1.15%. that you had a chance in 2 months of a threat, which could be a fight or whatever, happening in your school in that 2 months.
And what's the chance of winning the lottery? What's the chance of
I think,
lightning threat?
Yeah, I think I got my
Lightning
math
strike.
right there, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think I got the math right there.
Yeah.
But regardless, it was like 1% approximately. I know in
That's
business.
taking all schools across the state the same.
Yeah.
That's not. Yeah.
Yeah. The threats are going to happen more in the city than they will in the rural community,
sure,
right?
sure.
So, 'cause just more people, just by the numbers, sheer numbers.
When I was in school, we all had shotguns in our vehicles, and there wasn't a shooting once.
I know in business, like the post office does better than 1% with your mail. Like, they do better than 1%. I'm actually, when you think about all the packages and mail that goes through the system, they do better than 1%. They make it to the door on time and everything is efficient. That's pretty wild when you really think about it. It's pretty good that we're at 1%. We live in a country that has freedom, and with freedom comes giving up a little bit of security, right?
No.
What do you mean?
You should never give up. You should never give up freedom for security.
No. That's what I'm saying is you're giving up the security to have the freedom.
No. Freedom, and see, this is the big misconception. Everybody thinks that, well, to have security, I have to give up freedom. And if I give up freedom, if I keep freedom, then I've given up security. And that's really not the case.
That's true. Yeah, I'm misquoting that. Okay, so what I'm saying is when you have freedom, you can't stop literally everything.
It's like saying an armed society is a dangerous society because they're guns. But we know for a fact that the freedom of carrying guns actually creates a respectful society.
That's right.
So the freedom itself brings about security.
Okay, at 1.15%, what would $200 million do to the community as far as getting that 1% down? Where would it get us to?
I guess I don't understand the question.
Well, if we have a 1.15% chance of a threat happening in school in 2 months, and we spent $200 million on security, what would that percentage go down to?
Very little, because you used the math of all of the schools across the state. So you're talking less than 0.1%.
Right.
So we're not going to make this. We're only going to make the schools 0.1% safer. The other thing is, the only way you can guarantee the school to be 100% safe is to put, if you've got, let's see, you've got 800 students, then you need to put 800 police officers there at one school.
It's just ludicrous to think that a conservative sheriff wants to spend hundreds of $millions to try to protect 0.5%.
It's not, and I'm going to say this, and I don't mean it to be mean, but he's been there for 31 years.
Yeah.
He watched what the
previous
what Burkhart did.
Yeah. And the previous before him.
And he also watched what the 10-year undersheriff did when he was there writing all kinds of money for grants. In 1973, we had 3 officers at the sheriff's department. We had a sheriff, an undersheriff, and a deputy.
And we had some road patrol. I've been told, at least. And we don't know because we called down to the county clerk's office.
1973, the article's right on the sheriff's
we need to,
foyer wall when you walk in.
We need to get more historians.
3 officers in 1973. 3 officers.
I was told there was road patrol with that. I could be wrong.
Well, then if that's the case, they were part-time because there was only 3 full-time officers.
Okay, that could be a full-time. That might be what...
There was only 3 full-time officers. That was a sheriff, an undersheriff, and a deputy.
Anybody that lived in the county as long as, back in the 70s...
Do the math from 1970.
They need to tell us
Yeah,
what's
do the math from 1973 to 1913.
Well, the population's risen, about almost 5,000 or something around there approximately, and or 3,000 or something like that.
No.
It hasn't gone down.
No. Our population...
It's relatively the same.
It's relatively the same. And so, thereby...
The crime hasn't gone up. It's relatively the same.
No, the detection of crime, regulatory crime, has gone up with...
Like traffic crime.
Yeah, with radar guns and such, and painting our cars black so that we can hide in the night. But other than that, so I guess what I'm going to say here is Tim learned the bureaucracy.
Sure.
Sheriff Parker learned the bureaucracy from being there in the bureaucracy for so long.
No different from these townships with their leaderships.
And it's not necessarily, and I'm not, what that makes Tim is human. It doesn't make him bad. It makes him human.
Right.
Because he's been there for 31 years and watched that, and he watched how that bureaucracy worked, and so he only knows bureaucracy and how it works. This is why you need to have somebody that understands business, numbers, and money, and understands the Constitution.
And the same thing with the fire department, because there's a lot of infighting in those fire departments.
Sure. Politics are horrible in there.
Ever since having Tim Martin on and getting these people that been opening up about the fire departments a lot, I didn't realize that townships fight with other townships within, like, with egos, for an example.
Yeah, egos in politics. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible in the emergency services business. Period. It just is.
I didn't realize it was out there like that.
Oh, sure. I mean, I've got a lot of family that's in emergency services all over the country.
So, like, one fire
And it's
chief
horrible.
has more ego than the next one in the next
yeah.
community, and they're all going out to the fires and who can get there first, and
And everybody's always trying to get
throwing other people under the bus.
Right. And I don't know if it's like this here, but I do know in Ohio, you've got different heads of different agencies within the EMS that are always trying to make the other agency look bad for more money.
Yeah, well,
for the other guy's budget.
You know, and it's probably a poor analogy. What I noticed with the fire departments in general, and this is generally speaking, this ain't all fire departments, I'm sure, but what I've noticed that is if there's a problem, they try to keep it internally. Well, what happened this last year with Michigan State University?
Yeah,
they try to keep their problems internal too.
Well, but there's a big difference between keeping political problems within the agency so that it doesn't look horrible.
Right.
So the optics don't look bad.
Sure.
And there's something completely different that having criminal activity
on.
going
Like Michigan State, you mean?
Yeah. Well, and even some...
Well, locally there's
even some police departments, even some fire departments. I mean, let's face facts. There's been some fire departments where there's been embezzlement going on, and people look the other way and keep quiet because of the internal politics.
The same thing with townships, with boards,
exactly.
we're finding out.
Exactly. So let's make that distinction. There's a big difference between keeping petty political
ego stuff,
arguments out of the public eye.
Right.
And that's probably a good thing. People should do that. That's a professional thing to do. But you shouldn't make that mistake when it's criminal.
What about protocols, or like if something standards not being
if someone's
it's a little bit beyond the political part, but it's not quite criminal.
If someone's life, liberty, or property is threatened, then it's criminal and it needs to be brought out. So just like on fire departments, if they don't have the proper turnout gear and they're telling them keep quiet, don't you? You're going into that. No, that is absolutely wrong.
Like if they don't,
or if they're doing the same thing with sheriff's deputies or police departments or anything like that. When you're violating someone's life, liberty, or property, you're committing a crime.
Like, yeah, you're saying, like, if a board was preventing the fire department from doing their job, essentially,
hey,
not having the right
they had
gear.
It going on in Somerset Center where they had a vest issue.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, they had
a couple
vest
years
issue
ago,
and they were sending police
Brian
officers.
had a expired vest,
and they were just sending him out. But yet they had enough money to buy riot gear, but they couldn't buy that man.
We have unlimited funds.
I
up
know,
there.
but they didn't have. But they couldn't get that man a proper.
That's right. I forgot about that.
That's wrong.
That's right.
See, these types of things you don't keep in house because that's a criminal act. That's a criminal. I don't care. That's criminal.
Well, it's immoral. That's for sure.
It's immoral for sure. But the thing is, I'm not talking those kind of things. I'm talking the petty politic things that are happening.
I just didn't realize there was that much infighting in a small community.
Sure,
I just didn't
politics and ego are everywhere.
I hope.
Now, don't take this wrong. And let me state this. Politics and ego aren't always bad.
Right.
Sometimes that's the competition, that's the struggle that makes good out of everything.
It makes
people rise to the top, right?
Yeah.
And so that's not always a bad thing. We can't look at that as a bad thing. Sometimes that's a very, very good thing, as long as it's not violating life, liberty, or property.
Well, I guess as long as it's moral.
Yes.
I pray that these fire departments that are struggling to communicate with each other accordingly, I just pray that they can work things out.
I do too.
I really do. I think
wish the best for them.
I think those fire department people are good people. Ultimately.
Yes, they all are. Anybody that wants to serve their fellow man.
Yeah, and they would do it for free.
Sure, anybody that wants to serve their fellow man is worth the praise.
So going into our last topic here,